sec. Coach Don, how are you?
Hey, Mike. How you doing this evening?
Great, man. Appreciate you popping in there. I had to go get some headphones to properly get the audio rolling for us today. Surprised me with a late join on the new nighttime. What is this? 7:45-ish to 8-ish?
Yes, sir.
What do you think about that window?
I think it's it's a great time. Everybody's hopefully at this point gotten back from work, maybe got their workout in, had a little bit of dinner, and so this is a good time to assimilate some information versus mindless TV. So,
come on, what's better than reality TV?
I can think of a lot of things.
I don't know. We have a client who just is about to launch a new reality TV show, so I'm a little biased at the moment. You know what I mean?
I've been in
Can't say too much though.
Yeah. I'm on a huge kick right now, almost by happenstance. In the last 7-8 months, I did a bunch of competing, and so I was really tracking my calories and my food intake with as much precision as possible. And through that process, I also have a smart wearable that integrates, that measures my heart rate and all that kind of stuff. And almost by accident, I discovered that non-exercise activity, meaning all of the things that you do outside of working out in a gym, actually add up to equal or even more calories burned than your workout in the gym. And so
like steps in a day, like everything all together.
Well, steps is definitely part of it, so to your point, it's like, starting to really understand that if I can strategically plan, 3 to 4, 10, 12, 15-minute walks throughout the day, that is really going to go. And then there's something else I discovered too, is that for me, I'm better doing more exercise and consuming more calories if I'm trying to lose weight and body fat than if I just exercise less and take in less calories. And I think that's probably true for most people.
Well, you always want to be in a caloric deficit, but how you get there is different ways for your mind probably, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's true. But, really starting to understand that being active, and, we talk about this all the time in the Movement podcast, is, moving more, being more active, and exploring different active activities outside of the gym. I think, particularly from my standpoint, being a therapist, that what I see in people that are, been in gyms for years and working out, they're strong, but they're also very stiff. And so for me, I've noticed a big difference when I had some kind of movement practice that I added to my gym workouts. So for me, it's swimming, jujitsu, martial arts, whatever.
Well, I mean, you looked like incredible shape. I haven't seen the clip of the day of you winning like all of these fights, but maybe next week you can bring that. But congratulations. I know you worked really hard.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think we tried to invite you for a coffee and you're like, no, I'm just like only peeing for the next 3 days. But
I don't know if you noticed, but I've got a nice little shiner right now as it is. So I kind of, people look at me odd. It's like a scene out of Fight Club. It's like, yes, those are bruises. Yes, I'm comfortable with fighting. I am enlightened.
So. Yeah, I know. If you like walk onto a plane right now, everyone would be like, I don't want to sit next to this guy.
I have a little fun, like with, if it's a girlfriend or whatever, I say, don't hit me anymore.
Yes, you have to. You have to if you have a bruise like that, man.
She told me one time too many.
Well, so give us a quick recap, and then we'll run into the Dr. James Spencer stuff. Like, what class were you fighting in? Like, how many was it one fight? Was it a couple?
No. So what's interesting about jiu-jitsu is that competition is divided by age, weight, rank, and experience. Okay. So they have many, many different divisions. Now, in my case, similar to like, if you look at the UFC, heavyweight caps out at, I believe, 275. So if you're a 300-pound guy, you've got to cut down to 275 to be able to compete at heavyweight. So in my case, at my height, which is 5'11", if I don't make the 225-pound cutoff, then I wind up having to fight a guy that's 6'5", 260, 270, and it's just too much. So as it turns out for me, if I have to cut, 10 to 15 pounds, if I walk around, 235, 240, cutting that 10, 15 pounds gives me an incredible amount of, cardiovascular conditioning as well. So in this case, I compete in the gi, which is the heavy kimono, and then I also compete in the no gi. So those are two separate divisions. So as it turned out, in my division, they had nobody over, what is it? I think it's over 40. And then they didn't even have anybody under 35. So, over the course of years, pretty much I don't think
you just beat them all up and they stopped showing up?
I don't think it's unusual for guys in their 40s to do jiu-jitsu, but to start in your 40s, I mean, it's a very physically demanding sport. So that's probably a little bit more rare. So pretty much, I don't think I fought a guy yet that was over 35. So score one for the old guys.
Well, I think too, what you probably see a lot is that strength doesn't equal flexibility, like almost 90% of the time with the Gen Pop, right? Like a lot of guys just try to get strong and they're also not trying to be as agile along the way. Would you say?
Listen, I mean, there's a whole deep dive that I'm going to do in the future because, being a performance coach is essentially, and a therapist is what I've done my entire adult life from the time I was 18 until, now I'm almost 50 years old. And so what's really interesting about fitness is if you've been in it long enough, you start to track trends in the industry and you also start to track the socioeconomics of the industry, right?
Yeah.
So, for me at my age to be able to charge enough to make a living, that's a certain type of client that is mostly, over 40. And, their needs are just much different. Well, I'll even say this is as a therapist, pretty much anybody under 30, if you say to them, listen, the stuff that you're doing today is 10 years from now going to really affect your health and your quality of life. They're like, man, I don't care. Look at me. I got abs. I'm awesome. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So it's like, the message kind of, falls on deaf ears. But the point that I was trying to make is if you just look at, like, if you go on the Bureau of Labor Statistics and you start looking up data and research on, what the work world looked like in 1970, 1980 versus today, people in general are much less active. We're all specialists now. We all have one thing that we're very good at that we do multiple hours a day. And so we're just not getting, just like a healthy diet, we're not getting a diverse diet of movement and activity, exercise and non-exercise. So for those reasons, and I've heard some of the, top people in the industry, like in a room full of, let's say 400 fitness folks, the guy in the front of the room says, you guys are all, you're all sedentary. And everybody's like, oh, how could you say that? We're all, career fitness professionals. He said, listen, your hip needs to be weight bearing like 8 to 10 hours a day. And if not, then the hip actually starts to deteriorate. So if you're a person, let's say 4 days a week, you go to the gym for an hour, that's 4 hours a week that you're in the gym. And then the rest of the time you're in a cubicle,
lethargic.
Whatever. Yeah. So what I see is, people that their fitness is in the gym, they're strong, but they're also very stiff and have a lot of, soft tissue and joint injuries.
Well, I know First of all, Dr. James Spencer, like he'll make you stand on one foot for as long as you can in balance, and you'll be humbled very fast.
Yes.
Because you think that balance isn't exhausting, but I dare everyone at home right now to stand on one leg for 30 seconds and just like put it behind you or to the side, whatever you think is the easiest way for you, and count to 30. And then if you make it to 30, close your eyes and try to count to 10 from there. And like, then close your eyes and try to bounce a ball. Like, so that's what I always liked about James's approach, is that like you can start very simple, but you can challenge yourself, and nobody really understands like the complexities. Like you guys are biomechanic and strength freaks, like, so you know what's actually going along. But with the normal person, they're like, yeah, it's just balance. But I think we both know that there's a lot more to it than that.
I've really been trying to put my finger on this lately, and I think that for most of us, if we played sports in high school or college, it's one of two things: either, growing up, physical education, sports in elementary school, you either had a good experience or a bad experience. And if you had a bad experience, there's a lot of people out there that never did any type of sport beyond PE class in elementary school or high school. If you did play sports in high school or college, once you get outside of college, that's it for most people. And I don't think people really understand. But as we age, it's a very subconscious thing where if I say to you, hey, let's go for a jog, you're almost like, yeah, you know what? I don't think that doesn't, just the idea of it doesn't sound safe to my body. And that's what I love about the balance training, because as you do this balance training, which is very scalable, and you start to become more comfortable in your body, then it opens up this window of all these amazing activities, that ultimately we talk about a lifestyle. But I don't know if going to a gym 4 hours a day or 4 hours a week, I don't know if you could really call that a lifestyle.
It's not sustainable.
No.
And humans are always going to take the path of least resistance. Exactly what you just said, right? Like if you were like, hey, let's walk to the beach, or let's walk the long way to the beach. Like,
humans, not me though. That's why I do jujitsu. It's the
you're
opposite.
Also a freak. That's what I texted you the other day. I'm like, people like you and I need a competition sometimes to get fired up. Like it takes us to another level. And speaking of taking us to another level, I'm going to pop up a URL on the screen here. And in a few minutes, we're going to put this video on. So Dr. Spencer and you and Coach Mike and Laura Canteri and, Lance, Jason Glass, all you guys have been putting your brains together on the balance. And I know that the whole time you have to also think about business, right?
Yes.
So that was something that I always call him Jamie in my head, but then I say like Spence out loud.
Yep. Me too.
But Dr. Spencer, he's really paved the way for a lot of people to maybe not take insurance, or maybe take different types of clients than normal Gen Pop, right? So it's not for everybody, but I know that he always wants to share things that have worked for him. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch this full video yet, but what we did was we took like a 20-minute training video and we put 3 minutes of it up online to sort of give you a taste. And it's him just sharing a couple secrets of what's worked for him. Because you don't ever want to say how to, you want to say how I did this, right? So if there's anything else that you want to share with us before we go out today, Don, then we'll play that trailer video, and that's the link where you can go and watch the whole video if you'd like to.
Do you want me to share before or after?
You could share before. We'll probably close it out when the video wraps. We'll call it a day. So
well, I just want to touch a little bit on, because it's very similar in my business as a therapist and a trainer. Like even now, I just opened a brick and mortar, and I don't believe in having employees. I think your success in this business is your ability to go out and market yourself and pick up clients. And if you can do that, you're going to be very successful. If you can't do that, you're going to struggle. And I mean, from the very start of my career, I became a trainer when I was 18, and I went to tech school at 19 and became a therapist. And so I've worked with chiropractors and physical therapists my entire career. And here's what I would say about that is that if you go through chiropractic school or physical therapy school,
you're going to be in debt.
You're going to come out with a mountain of debt. So here's what you're going to do. Here's what you're going to do. Let's just talk about chiropractic. You're going to secure a position as an associate. Okay. And let's just say, depending on your market, they start you off at 65,000 a year. Okay. You are going to get crushed by volume. Okay. Now, in the beginning of your career, that's a good thing. You want to put your hands on a lot of bodies and get that experience. That's very important, but you're going to get crushed with that volume. So let's say over the course of, 3 to 5 years, probably, of you working as an associate and doing a ridiculous amount of volume to the point that you're almost burned out. Maybe
the gritty stuff.
Maybe, let's say in 3 years, you're a fast riser and the boss is going to come along and say, hey, you know what? I really appreciate you. Let's go ahead and we're going to bump you up to 75K. Now, Mike, you live in South Florida, okay?
I do.
Are you able to pay off $250,000 to $500,000 worth of student loans, save money, buy a house, and have any kind of lifestyle on 75K a year?
What about take a vacation or have kids or fill up your gas tank?
So, I've actually said this to a handful of, future clinicians that were in school right now. I said, listen, do yourself a favor. You're in chiro school for the next 2 or 3 years right now. Learn how to be really good on social media and develop your personal brand so that by the time you graduate chiropractic college, you already have a following and you can start seeing patients. Because this is what I'll tell you. This is the trap. You get a job as an associate. You start off at 65. You get bumped up to 75K. 75K is not enough to pay off your student loans, buy a house, and make a living. But nobody
in 50 years, maybe.
Nobody, let me say that again. Nobody is going to quit a 75K a year job and start all over trying to build a cash-based business. So if you never dip your toe into that pool of indentured servitude,
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Then you won't have to extricate yourself out. So this course that Dr. Spencer is offering, and I've had the unique privilege, the distinction over the last since 2016 to be very close to Dr. Spencer and talk with him a lot and watch him build his business, watch the many phases of expanding, which I know you have as well. And he's the real deal. And I cannot recommend this course enough. It's an absolute how-to.
Well, and you said it without saying it before. This is all relationships with people, right? Like,
yes,
you have to be a good chiropractor, but you also have to take good care of people. And I think that's what you're going to see resonate through this video that we'll play. So, Don, I appreciate you joining tonight. Dr.
Absolutely.
Spencer, I appreciate you popping in the live chat. This video is the 3-minute teaser. The full video is on the bottom of your screen right now and also in the links. So go and check this out. And Don, I'll see you next Tuesday.
Absolutely, guys. Check this out. There's no time like the present to be your own boss.
All
Have
right,
a great evening.
Let's roll it.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. James Spencer. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to share my story of how I started a cash-based business. Thank you for investing in yourself first off. Truly, that is what starting and running a cash-based business is all about. With some hard work, this investment will provide you the freedom to be your own boss and create a sustainable work-life balance relationship. A mentor of mine and many of my other friends is Gary Vee. He always states, start the side hustle. The marketing guru promoted the idea of starting a side business while at your current job and how you could eventually grow into that full-time work. I was working as an associate in a chiropractic office, and I decided to start a kettlebell training group on the weekends. I was so nervous to ask people for money in exchange for my services. When I first started, I was offering $25 for small group kettlebell training and $75 for private one-on-ones, but I was still so nervous to ask for money. That's because I had an unhealthy relationship with money. My family didn't have an abundance of money when I was growing up. I knew I had to change this concept in my head if I was going to start charging more and having the confidence to charge more. Thankfully, one of my clients started paying me $150 for private. He said, "Your value that you're providing me exceeds the $75. And one of the best quotes that he shared with me was, "What's in your bank account is not what's in your client's bank account." You know, this statement really opened my eyes. You'll learn more about this in the PDF and this small presentation. Remember, the side hustle will become your business. When I was an associate, my good friend and mentor, Mike Jones, he was the guru behind my logos, my website, and a lot of my social media. He said, "Doc, this is the time that you need to start creating a brand. The brand will morph into what you want it to be when you take this side hustle and turn it into a full-time job." So eventually I started training enough clients and making enough money that it started to exceed what I was getting paid as a chiropractic associate. So I decided to turn this cash-based business into a full-time job. And thankfully at that time, I had a brand to simply implement. You know, I want you guys to learn from my mistakes. I didn't even know what an LLC was or how it protected any of us as clinicians or coaches. I've hired many business coaches to help guide me on this journey. I've learned a lot about myself as a person, a clinician, a coach, and a leader. I've also spent nearly $100,000 to learn what I'm going to share with you guys next. Some important factors when starting your own business. I think these key concepts will help you expedite what you're looking to achieve.